Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coach Red, where we bring you all the news, stories, takes, and opinions about your favorite teams from the Pacific Northwest, from the good to the bad to the Mariners.
Oh, the sweet, sweet Mariners.
It's Miller time, baby, for the Mariners.
Sure
Bryce
is.
Miller call up first start tonight against the. Should we just call them the
The
Las
Las
Vegas?
Vegas Athletics.
They
Yes,
got to change the
sir.
name too. Like they better not be the Las Vegas Athletics. Well,
Yeah, it just sounds gross. But we're not here to talk about them.
stop stealing my thunder, Jiminy Christmas. Where the hell is this coming from?
I'm feeling extra.
Hey, we're not here to talk about them. We're we're here to talk about the NFL draft. So we got a two-part series this week. We're going to break down our mock draft in this episode, tell you a little bit of what we got right, what we got wrong, what we liked about the draft, what we didn't like, favorite pick, least favorite pick, go crazy. And then in a follow-up episode, we'll break down all the Seahawks draft picks for you. But before we get into that, why don't I tell you a little bit about us? If you're looking for a guy that I listened to probably 7 to 8 mock drafts on draft day, and this mock draft wasn't too far off from a lot of the experts out there, or at least somewhat experts like me. Your boy, Coach Red. You can find me on Twitter at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red. You can also hop on over to YouTube. Check out the pod there. Search Kicking It with Coach Red. Like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, leave a comment or two. Also, hop on over and follow the podcast page on Twitter and Insta at Coach Red Pod. Follow us. Do it, freaking do it.
I like it. Good
If
one
you're
take.
if you're looking for a guy that on his podcast did not get as many picks correct as on this podcast and will have to take a shot because of it, you might be looking for a guy like your boy, Cain.
You can find me over on Twitter at Kane2406, on YouTube at Kane06, and TikTok and Twitch at Kane0624. And just to be clear, there was a one player difference in our mocks.
Correct.
That's it. It was one. And not to mention, I think I had more players correct on the same teams than Coach did.
Well, you didn't come with those stats, Statosaurus Rex. So guess what? If you don't pay, you can't play. So
should
out.
I just go do a shot right now?
No.
All right.
Maybe at the end of the episode.
All right.
We'll see. Okay. So in talking about what we got right, so on our mock draft for this podcast, we got 25 players in the first round. We mocked in the first round that actually went in the first round. Our only misses were Manuel Forbes, Brian Bresee, Anton Harrison, Quentin Johnson, Mozzie Smith, and Jack Campbell. And if you listen back to our previous mock drafts, we drafted every single one of those players at some point in time during the mock draft cycle, except for Jack Campbell. So we're right on money. And in a lot of things that I was reading and people talking to NFL GMs, they weren't sure what the hell was going on with this draft. It was random as all get out. You had so many different runs going on in the first round. You kind of started off with some of the guys you thought would be chalk, and then tackle run goes, then corner run goes, then wide receiver run goes, then defensive tackle run goes. I mean, it was a wild first night, and I was changing my picks. Like, I got so many picks wrong on draft night, trying to do it in real time. Just where are they going to go here? Where are they going to go here? It was a hot mess express for me.
Yeah, I was sitting here watching it all night, and it just some of the picks I was just stunned at. Like
Yeah.
I didn't expect it. I mean, one of the biggest surprises was Jalen Carter falling to 9. That was
Not
just
really. Not for me.
it was wild for me because we had predicted the Seahawks to take him over and over and over and over and over again, and it just he fell to the Eagles, and man, they love Georgia players.
Love him. They even trade for him.
That's true, they did.
DeAndre Swift got traded on draft day. It is the Philadelphia Dogs.
Yeah, yeah.
Another key aspect kind of talked about, we tried to do this as predictively as possible. There were quite a few position groups we got right, but maybe one player went a little bit earlier than another. So we tried to kind of balance it out, try to get you the right players on the right team. We actually got 4 and start kicking that off. Bryce Young at the number 1 overall pick. In our mock, we had Will Anderson going 2. He actually goes 3 after the Texans trade up. Broderick Jones we had going at 17 to the Steelers. They move up ahead of the Patriots to snag Broderick Jones, who we picked as their selection. And the wild card, the first time he was ever in the first round mock, we bookended this thing with the correct pick. The Kansas City Chiefs go at Felix Anudike Uzama to close out the first round.
Yeah. It was a shocker. I mean, especially when you get 4 people right. I mean, you take that as a win, honestly, because draft day is the most wild day. You never know what's going to happen.
Very correct. And I was pretty stoked about that, looking at some of those guys where, we were looking at a few different teams that, okay, obviously offensive tackles here, Arizona moving up to 6 to take Paris Johnson kind of threw a wrench in some of those tackle plans because you expected that run to start, Bears, Raiders, kind of Jets, possibly Packers. And you just had a lot of guys that kind of went earlier than anticipated as well. You look at the Jets and the Packers going Lucas Van Ness and Will McDonald a little bit earlier than I think we even expected. At points of time, we had Van Ness shoot up, but he kind of cooled for me. But Nolan Smith kind of dropping to the end was another kind of big head scratcher for me. Medicals probably must not be all roses would be my guess for him to drop out when he was getting top 10 consideration.
Yeah, I mean, as you were saying with the Jets and the Packers, I really didn't like their first round picks. They kind of reached on the 2 guys that they did take when there were glaring needs that they, really needed, especially with the Jets getting Aaron Rodgers. You kind of wish that they went in a different direction. They did later in the draft, but I just think they were just reaches, and nobody expected, Will McDonald the fourth going 15th.
Nope.
When he should have been close to the end of the draft, or at least the first round.
Into the draft, 7th
round.
Look at this guy first the whole time.
End of the first round. You know what I meant.
Got it. Yeah, some of those were hits and some of them were misses. And guess what? We had some misses as well. I think our biggest one, I think we had a couple, but our biggest one was Will Levis, who we projected to go forward. We bought that smoke, baby. We bought that smoke coming out of Indy that he was their guy over anybody. And I think it came out after day 1 because he drops into early in the second round.
He was the 33rd pick.
Yeah, Titans move up to snag him. But apparently there's a toe injury or something like that. But listen,
turf toe.
A toe injury is not going to slide you out of the first round completely. There had to have been something else going on there.
The inklings that I've been hearing, it was his ego. Honestly, didn't just kind of being too confident in himself.
He's Bo Callahan from draft day.
Exactly.
Bo Callahan.
Exactly. That is a great comparison.
I've watched that. I watched that over draft weekend. I didn't finish
I watched
over draft
it on
weekend,
Sunday.
but I finished it last night.
I watched it on Sunday.
Just a good movie.
It's fantastic.
Chadwick Boseman is even in there as Vontae Mack. Let's go. You
Right.
didn't realize that until you rewatched it
Yeah, I was
You
telling the
might not
wife
even
because
realize it until this very second.
I noticed it because it's popped up on my TikTok, and I was like, oh yeah, hey wife, I have another sports movie to watch with you.
Yeah, he just left Wakanda to go to Ohio State to be a menace to Wisconsin quarterbacks and just be taken first overall. And the
Yeah,
crazy thing about that, let's go off on a draft day tangent real quick. Like the thought process of an edge, like going first overall, everyone's like, "Oh no, best edge in the class." Yeah, 7. And if the Browns don't pick him, the next best bet is 15. Like Jesus said, the first edge is going off the board at 15. You got a dog shit edge class that year.
yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding.
Let's not go with a guy that, Heisman sacks the Heisman quarterback winner 3 times in the film that I saw in the movie. Oh, 4, because he also had the strip sack for the touchdown. So
Yeah,
four
exactly,
four sacks. 4 sacks
exactly.
against Heisman Trophy winner. Yeah. Bust at 1. Don't pick him. 7. No, maybe it's 7, but definitely not again until 15. Get out of here. Don't get me started on draft day. What if we do like a live watch and just tear that movie apart, but also appreciate it at the same time?
I mean, we could. I'd be down for that.
Be a very long episode. That
It
one
would
would
be.
that one would just be
It's like an
going to
hour and
YouTube.
50
That one
minutes.
that one wouldn't play super well. We could maybe put like picture in picture. Let's get creative. Might be a little weekend live drop sometime. Who
Yeah, I would be
knows?
down.
Who knows?
Uh,
But here's
but we
one
should
thing that
get
I
into
did.
this, huh?
Huh?
We should get into this, though, huh?
Yeah, I am. I'm going to the next thing. Will Levis, he was our biggest miss. We had him at 4. He goes at the top of the second. Most of the guys that we missed on went pretty high in the second. Michael Mayer was on our list. We had Joey Porter Jr., some other guys that kind of slid a little bit or a lot of bit. Osiris Torrance, John Michael Schmitz
Mhm.
were some of those names that kind of slid further down the board comparative to where we had them. But I did want to focus on this. We For the players we got right, I'm going to give it like a 4 with an asterisk because we did say that John Michael Schmitz is a Brian Dable guy, and Brian Dable went and got him in the second round. Like it was right pick, wrong round.
Right.
Okay, now to the meat and potatoes. Now we can stop talking to you about all the intricacies of the movie draft day. Keep her moving. Uh, Kane, give me your least favorite pick from the first round.
I'm gonna go with pick number 18, Jack Campbell. Um, I just, it's tough because it's between 12 and 18. It's both the Lions picks. I feel like they reached on both. Jack Campbell could have been a early second round guy to mid second round guy, and Jameer Gibbs should have been more down at the bottom.
Jameer
I
Gibbs was
just,
rocketing though. Like I don't mind
I,
that as
I mean,
much because if you watched Hard Knocks last year, they had all the faith in the world in DeAndre Swift. You're the dude. Play
especially coming
like
up
it.
the year where him and Jonathan Taylor were kind of going pound for pound for that rushing title. I mean, in
Well,
the
it
second
wasn't even
half,
necessarily that. It's just he got banged up again, and then
yeah,
he like Jamal Williams just had the juice.
he did. He just wants to, be a dog and piss on the pole. Um,
It's not
but
that. He said, if you're a scared little puppy, piss on the porch.
oh,
What are you doing talking about pissing on poles? Dogs do that all day.
but I
Their
did not
favorites.
like.
It's their favorite thing to do.
I did not like the Jack Campbell pick, and I was talking to Day about it because he pays really close attention to Detroit football, and they didn't draft anybody lower than a grade 9 in the first round, or how they were graded.
A grade
Um,
9.
yeah.
Well,
At
can you
least that's
explain
what
what a grade 9 is?
it's basically like what they grade the player as on a system of all their athletic ability.
Oh, the
And
RAS score,
I think so.
relative athletic
I think that's what
scoring.
he was telling me about. But Jack Campbell was definitely a reach. I mean, you're pairing him with Malcolm Rodriguez, which he had a really great year last year. But I also think there were other linebackers in this draft you could have paired him with, especially with the Lions in the second round. I just think they had glaring holes that they needed to really go for in this first round. I don't think Jack Campbell was the move.
I think there's not a ton of glaring holes for the Lions right now. I think they went and got some of their guys. Plus, if you really look at the other like top tier linebackers in this, and if you really look at it, you had Jack Campbell go in the first, you had Drew Sanders go in the second. I believe Deion Henley got in the third, and I think Trenton Simpson was into the third, and those were kind of your top guys.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, Jack Campbell is your closest like stack middle linebacker out of the group, and there were some other teams that did need some linebacker play. I think that the Bills were a team that you could have seen potentially targeting him. I think that's why they moved up to go get Dalton Kincaid.
Mm-hmm. I
But
do love that pick. I do love that pick.
but I think they just got their guys. But at 18 for a guy that I kind of had slotted for the second round, early second round, but yeah, I think it was a lie.
Yeah. What about you, Coach? What was your least favorite pick of the first round?
Quentin Johnston to the Chargers.
I
Quentin
really like
Johnston
that.
started off as wide receiver one in this class. Well, he ends up as the second wide receiver drafted in this class. But if I'm looking for a team, I mean, I know that you've got Herbert there, big arm quarterback. Quentin Johnston can get downfield, can be a little bit of that burner guy for you, play opposite of Mike Williams. But you do also have an aging Keenan Allen, and I think that you could still play Keenan Allen on the outside. I think that a Yak monster like Zay Flowers would have been a premier pick here for them over Johnson. He goes the next pick to the Ravens. And if you're looking for that big burner guy, there's guys that went later in this draft, like Cedric Tillman out of Tennessee, Jalen Hyatt out of Tennessee, that were second and third round guys that I think you can get a similar skill set. I don't think there's a lot of guys that can catch the ball and have that ability to go get yards after the catch through traffic like Zay Flowers. I think it would be a perfect complement because you have your contested catch guy in Mike Williams. You'd have your possession catch 30 balls a game, Keenan Allen, and then your yak guy. You have three different facets to your team. And then you throw in, you still kind of have those deep threats like Trey Palmer and
It's
DeAndre
Jordan
Carter.
Palmer,
Yeah, Jordan Palmer.
DeAndre Carter, who
Yeah.
I really liked last year,
Who
filling in those
those guys are
roles.
speed guys that can get
Yeah.
over the top. So you just got a guy that's a little bit taller, had a good year, had one good year at DCU, like really good year, breakout year.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead and give me like Zay Flowers who produced with consistency.
I could agree with that. And now he's on the Ravens, which should be very well with Lamar getting his new deal. Hopefully, he can
Yeah,
stay on the
because
field and
Lamar
make it
Jackson is
happen.
very accurate within about 5 yards.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it plays out, but I could agree with you on that. And Day, whose favorite team is the Chargers, really wanted Jordan Addison on that pick. So
Yeah. All right. Who do you got for your favorite pick?
pick number 14, Broderick Jones. This is a big step forward for the
He
Pittsburgh
seems like a
Steelers.
Steelers guy too. Just
He does.
he
He
seems like
really
he's going to be the
does.
starting left tackle there for a decade.
I agree with that, and I guarantee you, Kenny Pickett and Najee Harris love it because, I mean, let's be honest. Last year, Kenny Pickett got hit a lot, didn't have the greatest year, and Najee Harris also, coming off his rookie campaign where he was explosive, just couldn't get anything going. It seemed like, and that was due to poor offensive line play. And now you bring in probably the second best offensive lineman in this draft to block that left side for you. Just watch Najee go off this year. And Kenny Pickett's going to be protected from what? That's his blind side. Yeah, that'd be his blind side. So, sorry, I got Lefty on the brain. So,
Left-handed
I
quarterbacks. Ugh.
hey
Woof.
hey, Michael
Name me the top left-handed quarterbacks.
Michael
Matt
Vick.
Leinart. How do you do? He's left-handed.
Yeah, Michael Vick's probably the best left-handed quarterback to ever be in the existence of quarterbacks. And then somewhat 1 year of Tim Tebow.
Did you get? I'm about ready to kick you off NFL podcast if you're talking about Tim Tebow as one of the best left-handed quarterbacks to
Of
play.
one season.
He wasn't even good that season. Jeez, ask me who my favorite pick was, please.
All right, Coach. Who is your favorite pick?
Well, my favorite pick was Jackson Smith and Jigba at pick 20, but I'm gonna break it down just slightly, but I also don't want to be a homer. Jackson Smith and Jigba, number one wide receiver on everyone's board. I thought his floor was 14. I thought 14 to the Packers, signed, sealed, delivered. It's over, but not the case. Gets to Seattle, where now healthy makes one of the more dangerous trios in the bunch. You could this is a guy that you can truly flip flop with Tyler Lockett inside outside versatility. This is a guy who I think, with having the luxury of a 5th-year option on him, by the time you're negotiating a contract extension, Tyler Lockett's going to be in year 10 to 11 to 12 at that point in time. How much is he going to have left? He can be that guy that's going to take the torch at that point. And the Seahawks really haven't spent high capital on wide receivers since DK Metcalf, who was last pick of the 2nd round, since Tyler Lockett, who was a 3rd round pick. So you draft someone early, and the Seahawks, when they've taken wide receivers under this regime earlier in the draft, they panned out pretty well.
I agree. I love the pick. He
Other
created a
favorite,
3-handed monster.
My other favorite pick was a shocker, with the Patriots moving back to 17, being able to get Christian Gonzalez there, where he even goes after Emmanuel Forbes, who we liked as a ball hawk, but just a little too slight of a frame. For what the Patriots do in building from the back end, going and getting Christian Gonzalez and accumulating more picks was a bananas move for a Bill Belichick defense that builds from the back. And to get Devin Witherspoon and Christian Gonzalez were looked at as quarterback 1 and 1A, 1B the whole time, right there lockstep. And to get a guy that could have gone as early as 6, to get him at 17 is a big move, especially when there's no concerns. There's no injury concerns. There's none of that. So I think it was a big get for me for the Patriots. Love the pick.
I mean, I also really liked it because, as you said, Bill Belichick loves to build from the back end. And this is a total Bill Belichick cornerback. I mean, look at the years that he's drafted guys and how good that cornerback room has been. I mean, when you had the likes of Darrelle Revis, I know he didn't draft him, but you've had that. You've had Stephon Gilmore, J.C. Jackson, just guys after guys after guys. And this cornerback room's continuing to be in the best part about the Patriots team.
I didn't even mention the McCourty brothers, the play that they, Chung at the safety position.
It's just they've always had a good secondary.
And you went with past his prime, Darrelle Revis as
he still played well.
Okay. All right. Let's go to your biggest loser of the first round.
The Packers. I think the Packers are the losers of that, especially as you said, all the wide receivers went after pick 20. And they need a wide receiver. They needed one. You lost Alan Lazard, Robert Tonyan, Aaron Rodgers, for Christ's sake. You lost so much this offseason, even on draft day or a couple days prior to draft day. And you didn't do anything about it till later in the draft.
Well, second and third round, they addressed it pretty heavily.
Right.
Jaden Reed,
I
Luke
think they got
Musgrave, Tyler Coombs,
yeah. But
all were gone by the third round.
But in the first round, I do think Lucas Van Ness was a reach. He was more at the bottom of my board.
You know who he
And
reminds me of is a toolsy guy like Rashawn Gary when they selected him in the first round.
yeah,
It's a Packer pick. Like I'm not
I
gonna be
mean, it
mad at them. It's
is.
what they do.
It is, but I just feel like, and they do go and get wideouts in the second round, and it usually pans out for them. But
Sometimes
I just think they had a glaring hole. You have Jordan Love on his 5th year and
signed an
or
extension for an
sign
extra
it,
year.
yeah, sign a $22 million extension.
Up to
Get him some help in the first round. I mean, there were certified studs there.
the Packers haven't done that in 21 years.
I'm aware of that, but just you got to get talent where talent is. And I feel like there was so much talent at the wide receiver class this year that you could have went with somebody at 13. I just don't think going for a defensive end. I mean, you're giving up the division, that's for sure. I think it's the Lions division this year, and they didn't do anything in the first round to help Jordan Love out. So I didn't love it. Coach, what was your loser of the first round?
My loser of the first round is actually an idea and not a team. It's based around team, but it's an idea. And it's based around the Lions. And the loser is positional value,
Okay.
where they trade back and take Jahmyr Gibbs at 12, and then 6 picks later take Jack Campbell at 18. Jahmyr Gibbs was rocketing up boards, and it was telling when on day 2 or 3, that's when DeAndre Swift gets dealt. I believe it was day 2
It was day
of
two.
the draft. So you tell that they weren't buying what they were selling in Hard Knocks. So getting that guy to pair with God, what is his name? What's his name? Kid from David Montgomery, who they bring in there, who's kind of their do all back. And I like the Jahmyr Gibbs pick because he's the splash. He's the sizzle to
Mm-hmm.
the consistency there. And like we talked a little bit about when you were ragging on Jack Campbell, he was the best stack linebacker in the group. And that's what they want to pair next to Malcolm Rodriguez. So I don't hate the picks because I think that it fits Dan Campbell. Those are Dan Campbell type guys. But it did just roast what you expect positional value. You know, Bijan Robinson going at 8. The guy is a transcendent running back guy. Jahmyr Gibbs wasn't necessarily seen as that guy. He's seen as an extremely good running back with high upside potential. But to have him go at 12 and then have a linebacker go at 18, I think you probably could have moved back a little bit and still made that pick.
I agree with that. I 100% agree with it.
Who is your biggest winner? Winner, chicken
You
dinner.
know, I'm going. Well, you know what? I'm not going to go there. I'm
You
not.
can, but
I'm
then you
not.
just have to pick another one.
I'm going with the Tennessee Titans, getting Peter Skoronsky. I think he's one of the, top offensive linemen in this draft. You're getting Ryan Tannehill back to do this team. Yes, they don't have much help on the receiver end, but they did need to start somewhere in addressing that O line. You build that up, you get a good running back again. If Derrick Henry's back and he can be King Henry again. Plus, they also got Will Levis. I mean, with pick 33. And it's gonna be a good pairing for years to come because Malik Willis is not going to be the starting quarterback ever again. I just think having a guy that's going to battle in the trenches for them is a big win, in my opinion. And to get Skoronsky at 11, huge. What about you, Coach?
My biggest winner was tackles.
That's
and
fair. That's fair.
offensive and defensive tackles. Because if you look throughout our mock, I think the most we ever mocked for offensive tackles was 4, and 5 go in the first round. And we kind of floated with Brzee in there a little bit, too, with a max of 3. But to see, you know, Prasigo off the board, see Kalijah Cansey, who we knew about going off the board, seeing Mozzie Smith sneak in there, and obviously Jalen Carter. I think it was a big year for tackles because you saw the runs start to happen and people started biting early. And usually, offensive tackle, you have your few key guys that you target as those top 3. Maybe a guy slides in to the bottom of the first to make that fourth. But I think the Cam Robinson news about him having the PED suspension caused the Jags to do it. Even though we picked a tackle there, we just picked uh, Darnell Wright to go there.
Mhm.
But having Anton Harrison come back, who we had projected early on in the mocks to Kansas City quite a bit, for him to make that jump, and Mozzie Smith, who seemed more as like a true run stuffer, not a ton of pass rush upside. That's why I saw him going into the second. It was a big year for tackles. And I
I
think they were
agree.
big winners this year. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out through the next draft cycle.
Yeah, next year is going to be a wild one, probably again.
Every year's a wild one. It's like that Flow Rider song. Oh, I heard you like the Wild Ones. They were talking about the NFL draft. And if you're looking for guys that will break down the NFL draft, the Seattle Mariners, the Seattle Seahawks, the Seattle Sounders, and heck, even the Seattle Kraken, I'm in on it now. Playoff hockey's awesome.
As
Like,
of
we're
right
going to
now,
start
they are
talking about the
losing.
Kraken a little bit more next year because playoff hockey has invigorated me into becoming more and more of a hockey fan. I don't know all the rules yet, so I don't want to be a chump.
Hey, my wife can teach you some rules. She likes hockey.
I bet she could teach you some rules. And first rule would be go follow us on social media. You can hop
That's
on over
crazy.
to Twitter. Follow me, your boy Coach Red, on Twitter at the real Coach Red, on Instagram at the real underscore Coach Red. Also, check out the podcast page at Coach Red Pod on Twitter and Insta. Also, hop on over to YouTube, search Kicking It with Coach Red, like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications, leave a comment, or 31, like their same amount as picks in the first round. Kane, where you at?
You can find me on Twitter at Kane2406, on YouTube at Kane06, and TikTok and Twitch at Kane0624.
That's going to wrap up this episode. Tune in next time for the Seahawks draft breakdown. And as always, stay fresh.
Stay fresh, peeps.
Peace.